And we're back with you tonight on a late night Monday night. Back with you for part 2 of a Monday Night McFiles. We're always grateful to have you back late, but we're more. I tell you, I'm so excited to have my dear buddy James R. on the line with me tonight. Good to see you, my friend. And as I was telling him, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Thanksgiving, all rolled into one. Good to see you, buddy. How you been?
I'm doing excellent, man. It's good to be with you. I always love my appearances that are not actually appearances on the McFiles.
That is true. You know, we got to Zoom with you one day. I haven't Zoomed with you forever. You know, I just, it's easier to call you, but I need to get a Zoom link with you one night. I do. It's my fault. We need to do that before the New Year's out. Maybe last week of the month we'll do a Zoom and do a year-end Pirate Radio / McFile / reunion show. That would be fun. And
there you go.
That'd be good. Hey, man, it's good to see you tonight, for real. And listen, we've had so much news over the last 72 hours. I don't even know where to start. I do want to start with the Canadian thing. It's breaking tonight. News stories started coming in here in the last 6 to 7 hours that Justin Trudeau's government is about to collapse. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll go to the drones and some other stuff too. But what's your thoughts on Trudeau? I mean, he's been on borrowed time, James, for a long time. I think that the Trump effect is already. I think President Trump's having an effect on the world. It's not just America. I think that President Trump he's making a difference before he even puts his hand on that Bible on January the 20th.
Well, I definitely agree with that statement, but I would argue that it's us. It's the MAGA American people that are having the greater effect on the world. Because, yes, it culminates with Trump winning, which shows the rest of the world that Americans are done with this crapola that they've been spreading all over the world. And if you look into the individual countries, especially Argentina, right? Javier Milei,
right.
You know, changing his country completely around to having its basic first surplus in 164 years or something like that. I mean, just everything, everywhere, the people have rejected this multicultural globalism that they've been trying to shove down our throats. So I think they're taking more inspiration from the fact that Americans themselves did elect Donald Trump. And if we can elect Donald Trump, they can definitely elect better leaders. You look at England, where Reform Party is about to become the preeminent party of the country. You look at Canada, where, you know, they've already had to cut backroom deals with, opposition parties just to keep him there as long as they have. But I think the Canadian people are so done with this totalitarianism that they're rejecting Trudeau right now. You can look at any country you want, and you can see that populism, that the people of the country are winning everywhere.
Yeah, it's well said, buddy, and I totally agree with that. It is beyond Trump, and look, we have seen an earthquake, and I'm glad you mentioned Argentina's Milei. He is, he doesn't get a lot of press, but I tell you, he deserves a lot of credit, and I think that he has given a blueprint how to turn around a nation, and I think President Trump is going to follow that same blueprint, James, because he's got 4 years. I mean, and it don't seem like a long time, but Milei has done just that in Argentina. That country was on the brink of abject socialism before he took over, and he has done a miraculous job. Do you sense it's a groundswell worldwide right now that people are just, as you said, sick? You know, you mentioned sick of the crapola. Do you predict any other nations to keep an eye on like this? Because I tell you, man, the dominoes are falling. And look, Trudeau, I was laughing so hard I couldn't see straight when when I heard what Trump told him. He said, "Well, don't worry about it. You can just become part of the 51st state, Justin. We'll take you, and you can be a governor of our 51st state." Trump's the only one that can get away with that, saying that, but it's how we feel, man. It's how we feel.
No, he's a great troll. I mean, I love the fact that he's willing to troll these people and put it in people's faces, make them get upset, make them realize, hey, here's the reality. If we have to support you, you're not a country.
Come on, buddy.
You're a satellite. I mean, that's all there is to it. You can't support yourselves. You got people that are taking this even one step further. In my opinion, it's an extension of the same thing, where let's look at what's going on in Syria. The Syrian government has collapsed, and yet you have European nations trying to stand in the way of Israel and say, no, that agreement is still good. No, it's not. That agreement was with a government that no longer exists. Those people are all gone. These people, we've got no guarantees from these people. No. So that by extension is the same type of attitude we're seeing around the world, where, if we had an election in France today, Marine Le Pen will smoke Macron by something like over 48 points. Like, I mean, that's polling that's not ever been heard of. So, the people around the world are absolutely on a populist message of what's good for their countries. So, just like MAGA is America First, you've got movement with Pierre Poilievre in Canada.
Yes.
That's Canadian First. You got, Nigel Farage in England. That's UK First. And that's how it should be. The German Chancellor was just ousted, by the way, which was already predicted about 6 months ago, but he finally got ousted. So Germany is now going to a more populist position. So everywhere around the world is getting better for their people. And that's the way it should be.
Totally agree, James. Let me ask you this. The other big story, one of the bigger stories today has been the school shooting in Wisconsin. And as to be expected, the left is not decrying the shooter. They're going after gun control. But I see something bigger happening beyond the left's call for gun control. We're expecting that. Buddy, I hadn't talked to you much. I think we had one interview after the election. But I think we even talked about it, that the left had been very quiet for a few weeks. And it just seems like for the last 72 hours or so, we have had the drone situation in Jersey and New York. We've had drones spotted in other cities. We've had the shooting today. Biden is out there opening the gates. So I saw a video tonight. There's another 3,000 to 5,000 Mexican illegals coming across the border. Do you see him trying to just crash a plane on purpose? He's trying to crash the country and thinking that Trump can't fix it. I mean, he's got to be dumb. Is he dumb, evil, a mix of it all? Or do you think somebody's pulling his strings to do this? Because he sure is trying to tear a seam in this country before Trump takes office in January.
Well, primarily what it is ego. This is all hubris. This is Joe sticking his finger in all of his detractors' eyes. I mean, he's sticking it to the left and Obama every bit as much as he's trying to stick it to Trump. Like, he sees this as everybody wrecked my legacy, and it's everybody else's fault. It's not his fault. It's everybody else's fault. And that's what he's doing. You can see it in his actions. I mean, this guy pardoned 8,000 people. Like, are you serious?
I know.
Like, I mean, and he's pardoning some of the most wicked people that have ever existed. He's pardoning the judge that was involved in sending kids to prison for cash kickbacks. He's pardoned the chick that stole $53 million from a small city and made herself like a horse breeder. Like, I mean, he is pardoning some of the absolute worst people in the world. Some of this is normal stuff, right? And even though people are trying to put a positive face on it, you can't get away from the fact that he has pardoned these kiddie porn people. Now, understand that the Chinese kiddie porn guy was literally the kiddie porn honeypot
right.
for our politicians. I mean, that's what he was sent to do. So I get it. On that case, it's a straight prisoner swap with China. But you can't do this stuff and just think like this is normal. Like, nobody sees this as normal. Democrats are just as mad about him pardoning his son in many ways that the right is, because it proves how much this guy is just all about him. And that's what it's all about. That's why he's doing these things 100%. He's mad that they yanked his second term. He's mad. So he's mad at the left, Obama specifically, and he's mad at the right because we reject everything about him. And so he's like, all right, screw you guys.
Let me ask you a question. I had I mentioned it to Ricky earlier tonight. I want to run this by you. I had a lady in our chat the other night, and I thought it was the greatest comment of the year, to be frank with you. She made an observation that Nancy Pelosi, James, single-handedly, and basically was able to maneuver the House to impeach Trump twice, okay? And she said that, when history books are written 10, 20 years from now, every time that Donald Trump's name's mentioned, we are pretty certain that the history books are going to say he was impeached. They'll never put that in context as to why and the sham of it and all the fakeness. And she said, when you will read about Joe Biden, the Republicans didn't even have the balls to impeach Mayorkas. They couldn't even impeach a freaking Homeland Security director that was allowing illegals, aliens over this border to the point of rape and murder and all these things. And yet Joe Biden will walk free of this without ever being impeached when he did things, James, that were criminal. And, forget the Hunter Biden laptop and the pardoning of the Burisma stuff and all this stuff that's going on. But just his malfeasance of office alone, James, was impeachable. Some of this stuff that he's done over the last 4 years to the American public and the people and things. And are you in agreement with that ultimately we look to the Republicans that, they failed? It's not just Joe Biden that hurt the country, but the Republicans, I know that their power was somewhat thwarted a little bit. And, we got caught up in the McCartney thing here a couple of years ago and so forth. But does it not? She made a point that I think that is worth discussing. He should have been impeached, and he wasn't. And he's going to walk free. And the history books will paint Joe Biden, the liberal school systems and the systems of kids to think, well, it's just a normal 4 years in America, when it wasn't. It was one of our worst 4 years we've ever had in this country.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm going to say something on your program that I probably expect you to be like, what? What did you just say?
Never.
Mitt Romney is a smart politician, okay? We've hated him for years, and most of your audience still hates him, including me, just to be clear about this. But when he was recently interviewed, he was very honest about what the situation is, right? This is Trump's party. This is MAGAville. This is now that is 100% where the Republican Party is, including a lot of our county and state chairs and reps. And that matters. That's important to understand that the Republican Party, and Mitt said this, he said, it's now the party of the working man. Democrats have lost that. So what's been our situation now? What does that imply? That conversation that all of these egomaniac Republicans, and we all call them rhinos, right?
Right.
Republicans, those people have been doing exactly what we said they were doing. There was a uniparty. It was the right and the left. In fact, something George Santos said to me one time when we were talking, he said, you have to realize that there are people in the Republican Party that are in government, that are elected members, that went to Washington to do one thing: spend money. That's why they're on the Appropriations Committee. You don't have Thomas Massey on the Appropriations Committee stopping everybody from spending money. And you definitely don't have multiples of people like that on the Appropriations Committee. No, what you have are people that went there literally to spend money. Why would they ever cut? Right? They have no incentive. So we just gave Washington its first real knock on the head.
Right.
And that's why they've been doing what they've been doing. And so the more we replace them, the better it will get. But that's the reason I'm answering the question this way, is because it highlights who these Republicans in office really are. And they're showing it to us. They showed us their ass on day one going up against Matt Gaetz, and we used that momentum to basically 180 degree flip all the senators about Pete Hegseth. Right, that's all. That's your audience right there that made that happen. Make no mistake. There's going to be 100 people come out of the woodwork to take credit for that. That belongs in the hands of the people who said enough's enough. Give Trump his people. Lindsey Graham, you've been going on television every freaking year saying the president deserves who he wants. Well, this president deserves who he wants too, Lindsey, and you better vote for him or we're coming for your ass. In fact, today in the news conference, Trump was asked about that. And Trump said, yeah, pretty much if they don't give me what I want, they're probably going to face a primary challenger.
Absolutely. Well, and I totally agree, and it's needed. And, even Mitch in his dying days, I mean, he's still trying to impeach Trump. And James, I just think at the end of the day, we're gonna look back at this time of history, and Trump's got such an opportunity of these next 4 years, man, to do such a anima. I mean, I'm telling you, a colonoscopy of colonoscopies in D.C., and I am so excited to see it. I hope he has no holds barred. I was telling the folks earlier tonight, I was talking to a guy today at a business, and he sort of made the comment. He said that he had heard Trump say that there were a lot of things that he was talked out of his first term, but he sort of grinned and he said, I'm not going to be talked out of him this time. And I think that's why they're more scared of him tonight than they've ever been scared of him before. I think that this time he's a lame duck. And I think that's why you got all these Democrats coming around, James. You've got some of look, me and you both have talked about Tulsi Gabbard on this show over and over. I'm just going to wait and see what happens with her. But let's just say on the surface, if her loyalty to Trump is true, I'm thinking of her. I'm thinking of RFK Jr. Look, I'm thinking of John Fetterman right now, the guy in Pennsylvania. When he first came into power, man, I thought that he looked like Lurch. I thought that Pennsylvania was on drugs voting this guy in. And he was worse than Uncle Fester on the Addams Family, but he's turned into a moderate Democrat. He's become the new Joe Manchin, of the Dems and the Senate, and he makes sense. I'm not saying he's a conservative, and I'm not saying that he's found Jesus, but there are some things that he's saying that make sense. And I just think that this it's like a game of uncle, and I think the Democrats are crying uncle tonight. They know that they've gotten their asses handed to them. And they either go along and get along, or they're going to get run over by a Trump truck, buddy, over the next 4 years. And their party may go away. Ask George Stephanopoulos about networks going away and paying $15 million tonight because he slandered Trump, and look what happened.
Yeah. The Democrats are in deep trouble as long as the Republicans don't step on their own dicks. Okay, and that's a hard thing for them not to do, because they do it every time.
I know, and I know.
You mentioned something early in what you were saying there about, Trump. They're more scared of him now than they ever were. That's 100% right. But it instantly conjured in my mind the entire concept of DOGE. Nobody voted for Donald Trump to do DOGE, okay? It was at the very tail end of the election where it even became a thing. And it is the thing that is going to show the uniparty's ass to the world more than anything else. I say this all the time. You know what really won Donald Trump the election? It was Governor Greg Abbott busing the illegal aliens into the inner cities. Because that's what it really comes down to. It was the greatest political maneuver done in this country. That was the linchpin. That without that, we don't get the inner city in Chicago and Philadelphia just riled up because, holy crap, they're taking all of my money all of a sudden. All of a sudden, The people who were getting welfare for the last 100 years were like, wait a minute, where's my welfare? So that was a huge move. That's how big DOGE is now for the politicians, because the people that are lining up to be on the, quote, DOGE committees, they're there to limit the damage. So this is what's going to happen. I think we all know it. The DOGE committee is going to show to Donald Trump what, in fact, he referenced today. He said, you wouldn't believe what these guys are finding we're spending money on. And in fact, Fox News did a man on the street in D.C., where D.C. was like, wait, we're spending money on what?
I know.
Sex with freaking heroin and
I know.
and you know, peregrine falcons, what? So, anyway, the point is that that's what's going to show their asses to the world, and it's going to make picking them off on the primaries in 2 years very easy for MAGA. That's what's going to be shown by this DOGE thing. That's the thing they fear the most. As I mentioned in my previous comments, Republicans went there to spend money, and now the Republicans, it's supposed to be their job to stop spending money. You're going to watch this. These people are going to be like that meme where the guy's smiling on one side of his face and frowning on the other half. That's what all the politicians are going to look like in 3 months.
Yeah, I totally agree. Very, very well put. And James R. way. It's always well said with the James R. way. Hey, the other big story. The drone situation. What's your take on all this? Just James R. to Chris. I've heard a lot of stuff out there, and we don't. One thing I've always respected about you, you're a straight shooter. You don't get off onto these. You don't chase a rabbit hole. We don't either. And but just what's your gut on what's going on with these drones? And is it the government? Are they doing something that they don't even know what they're doing? Is it a foreign power, or what's James R's take on all this?
Okay, so I here's the first thing. Let me say, people are absolutely stupid. Man, the internet will show you how dumb they are just by you got prominent people. This is what's really got me. Prominent people, including Congress people in our government, showing videos of airplanes, showing videos of literal satellites. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe you guys are doing this. Now, are there actually drones? Yes. Is 90% of what you've seen on the internet absolute bullshit? Yes. And true at the same time.
Come on.
Like, seriously, if you think your government doesn't know what's happening, you're an idiot. Okay? Like, I'm just going to say that.
Come on, James. Come on.
You have to think about this. Your Navy has to have failed. Your Coast Guard has to have failed. Your Civil Air Patrol has to have failed. Your FAA has to have failed. And your National Guard likely has to have failed in your state. Like, there is absolutely zero chance your government doesn't know what's going on. Okay? And they're out there acting like they're the Keystone Cops on purpose. Why? Because they're trying to psyop the shit out of you so you'll give away more of your freedom. Look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to more heavily restrict airspace, more invasive knowledge about what you're doing as an American, and increasing the surveillance airspace. Now, is this what we want to live in? A society with drones flying over the freaking city 24 hours a day to protect us from, wait for it, drones? Wait, what? It's like, this is the stupidity of these people.
I know.
Now, what is the real mission? What is really going on? I told my audience this last week when this first broke out. I said, listen, this is a government contractor, and this is a government contractor doing something at the behest of the government. They're looking for something, okay? Whatever that is, could be anything. It could be anything from this story that's leaked out about some missing vial of X-ray material.
I've heard of that.
To some kind of chemical weapons, because that's what we have on a military-grade drone. And make no mistake, they're military-grade drones. Anything that's going to sit in the air for 7+ hours, That's what you need to be concerned about. You hear these people say, oh, it's the size of an SUV. Say, really? How would you know? When's the last time you put a Lincoln Navigator up at 10,000 feet? All right? You don't know what the hell that size is. You don't know what elevation that plane is at, that drone is at. There's no way. In fact, that's been proven over and over again by all kinds of tests. Even the Mythbusters have busted things like this where you're like, the human eye can't figure that out. Okay? It'll have a decent idea, but you can't figure out how high in the sky it is. You have to be at that elevation to be able to tell what elevation that object's at, and the size and its relativity. So, but you do need to know that anything that's in the air for 7 hours, that's military grade. End of discussion. That's not normal. You have to have a license to fly something like that. And so that's why I say they absolutely know what's going on. There is zero chance that they don't.
Zero chance they don't know, or they do know?
No. It's zero chance the government does not know what's going on.
That's what I thought.
It's impossible.
Why would you? Do you think that why would New Jersey and New York be the main focus of these drones? Is there any science to that? Do you think it's just coincidence, or do you think there's specific reasons why those two states? Because there's been other sightings. There's been sightings over D.C. There's been sightings over Boston. There's been other states that have seen them, Maryland, but it just seems like the Jersey, New York thing has gotten the most press.
Donald Trump won the election. Donald Trump defendants. That's what happened.
That's what happened.
No, I'm serious. Like, think about it. What would be so look at what the left is doing, right? The left has taken to celebrating a murderer of a CEO in this country. They're ready for these nefarious physical actions against us. They really are. They've been saying it, and they just got even crazier after we won the election. So they're at that inflection point. So now you don't just have to worry about outsiders doing shit like this. You got to worry about insiders doing shit like this. You got to worry about the fact that Donald Trump won the election and some crazy named Ruth went and tried to take shots at him at a golf course.
Yes.
So you don't think if a crazy leftist has access to some radiological material that he wouldn't think, let's make a dirty pipe bomb and let's try to take Trump out at Bedminster? Hell yeah, they would. So you got to worry about that. You got to worry about foreign actors doing it. You got to worry about our own fucking CIA making a cover story like Iran has a mothership in territorial waters. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the most ridiculous story I've ever heard in my life, and yet you got people all over the internet like, oh yeah, I'll believe it. Are you crazy? You know what has to fail for that to happen? No way that's happening. But it's a great cover story for something like the CIA to do. It's not like it's beyond them to kill presidents. I think most of Americans believe they've killed at least one, if not two.
That's true.
So,
that's true. No, that's true, bud. And you're right. I mean, you'd have to have your whole NATO, you're not NATO, but you'd have to have your whole NORAD defense system fail here in America, not to pick up a freaking submarine from the Iranians. That's not like it's coming from the Bering Strait in Russia, man. That's coming from the Middle East. And but do you think that all this is blather then? Kirby over the weekend, Mayorkas, so they're just play acting, right? I mean, they're just playing dumb, and they good as well know what they're doing.
Here's something I'm going to say that's going to shock you. Those two morons might fucking not know. The other people are like, don't tell me. It's a crap job. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might not know.
No, it's good. And I mean, it's hilarious, man. Nothing you say, James R. I've known you for 7 years, bro. You have been with me on this journey from the day one of this show. Nothing you say shocks me. Nothing. So we're good, bro. We're good. Do you? I do want to ask you a serious question. It's somewhat serious, but it's tied to this stuff too. And again, I'm not trying to draw any conclusions because I personally don't think there's a connection to this, but you just never know these days with what's going on. Do you think that the shooting in Wisconsin and the timing of it Just coincidence with these drones? Do you think it's an attention grabber from the headlines? I mean, look, these things that always, it just seems so weird that every time we get momentum going in this country to turn it around, we have a shooting or we have some kind of national situation like this that gets our attention. And then that's the other thing that I'm noticing, that people's attentions are like rabbits in a hole right now, James. They're going from one thing to the other. It's like a ping pong ball. And, look, I don't think that there's anybody in this network audience tonight that trusts the government past the stick they can throw them. And I'm not saying that this is connected, but do you entertain any possibility that it may be the timing of it is connected to what's going on, just a distraction from something bigger that's coming?
Yeah, see, that's a complex question the way that you asked it. So I'll break it down into two sections. So are they connected? Absolutely not. Now, having said that, you have to question the media. And the telltale for the media is always, when did you know what you knew? In other words, is this a story that they all of a sudden were like, oh shit, there's some stuff at the school, let's blast this now while everything is still active? Or did you find out towards the very end where, hey, today there was a shooting, blah, 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 right? So the news definitely always will go to things like this when they need to distract you from something else. When you look back at some of these school shootings that have happened, you'll see that there was a bigger story in the news that was carrying the timeline, and you didn't start hearing about the big news of this school shooting until after that played out. Then they told you the story. Then that story was everywhere. So what I look at is I'm saying, okay, so 6 hours before there was anything that actually happened down the road, this was being blasted everywhere.
That's a great point.
Yeah. The media was trying to distract you and give you the red meat. Remember, we were just talking about this on my show a couple weeks ago. So there's a great movie out there that the youngins in the audience, which probably don't exist since we're all old folks in here, a movie called Absence of Malice.
Love it.
Sally Fields.
Love it.
Right? What you learn from that show, right, and subsequent other shows as well, is that if it bleeds, it leads. Why does the media have that attitude? Because they're doom pillars. That's sex. That's what sells for these news agencies. They're feeding you constant doom pills so that you can't not pay attention to them. You have to pay attention to what they're saying, because if you don't pay attention to what they're saying, you might be the next victim of blah, whatever that is. Okay, so that's why they do it like that. So you always have to pay attention that you are being led. I think Denzel Washington still said it best. He said, if you don't pay attention to the news, you're uninformed. If you do pay attention to the news, you're misinformed.
That's a great quote. That's a great quote. It really is. And speaking of which, George Stephanopoulos is going to be $1 million lighter in his wallet. He's agreed evidently to pay $1 million of the $15 million that ABC has settled with Trump on this defamation lawsuit. Do you think there's more of that coming? Do you think that's going to teach some of these networks? I've heard rumors the Views are being canceled. I don't know if have you heard anything about that? Is that just scuttlebutt on the internet, or is that true? But do you think ABC is going to learn their lesson? Because it seems like from what I've seen today, they're out there still claiming that the judge was right in this case, but George just got slapped down by a Trump judge.
Yeah. So the media is losing its mind over this settlement, right? And they're mad at ABC for settling it.
Yeah.
Even though this is how you always would handle a situation like this in the past. Why is it different now? Look, they're overlooking the fact that the judge said, no, we're not going to dismiss this. You probably knew what you were doing. So we're going to get it to a jury. That's why they settled, because they do not want the discovery that goes with that. Okay, that's what they don't want. They don't care about George. They could fire George and it wouldn't cause them to lose sleep. what they cared about was avoiding the discovery that's going to go into that network, and all their emails are going to have to be gone through, all their inter-office communications, all their decision-making process on the show, the producers, the assistant producers. It's too invasive for them to say, we're going to keep going. Now, on the conduct side of that, you've got Trump, who's like, he doesn't really care about the money. He cares about the lesson being taught.
Oh, absolutely.
So the $15 million, although that's peanuts, let's face it. Like, if they're paying frickin', these people like George Stephanopoulos $15 million a year to lie to America, this is meaningless peanuts money to them. It's the principle, and so it's having the intended effect just because the rest of the media is losing their freaking minds about.
Popcorn worthy, bro. Popcorn worthy, without a doubt. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Speaking of the media and other legal issues, the case up in New York evidently is going forward, and I understand tonight that the judge rejected Trump's request to have the Alvin Bragg case thrown out due to presidential immunity. While there's other cases that have fallen, Jack Smith's case is gone, the Fannie Willis case has fallen away. I mean, look, Nathan Wade is basically sunk. I mean, what he has reported tonight, and I'm going to get to the J6 stuff after this, but I do want to ask you about the decision tonight. Where does that case go? How does Trump handle the fact that that case has not been thrown out now? Does he just where does his remedy go from there, or does he have one?
Yeah, no, he still has remedy. This will be immediately appealed. In fact, that's what everybody was arguing the first time. Was like, they wanted this decision. Trump's team wanted this decision because now they can appeal once the decision was made. They couldn't appeal before, where he's just keeping it in stasis.
Okay.
It's just like the judge that gave the non-gag order gag order. You can't appeal something that isn't an actual order. It's horseshit in legal sense, in legal parlance there. He's going to appeal this on a number of factors. But the number one factor he's going to appeal it on is the fact that even though Merchan says that they didn't preserve it for appeal, they did, because they moved the motion to disallow the witnesses, and you said that the witnesses were valid. But because of the Supreme Court decision, it's clear you were wrong. So that's the first thing on appeal that comes to my mind, is that they allowed improper testimony to come in. Now, that's what Merchan wrote an opinion on today, was the fact that what he did was he found it, quote, harmless error. Okay, so that's a legal parlance term for saying that even if Donald Trump, those witnesses hadn't testified, the other testimony was what the jurors had enough of to convict him. And so he's calling the improper evidence and testimony as harmless to the outcome.
That's crap. Of the case. And that's crap. I found that nothing but total crap. And look, Alvin Bragg's got his own problems. Look, what he did to Daniel Penny, and I'm proud that the jury did what they did with this young man. He gets his life back. He was a guest at the Army-Navy game Saturday. James, do you think that this lawfare stops under Trump number 2, second term? Do you think that it continues? Do you think that his Justice Department puts a stop to it? Look, I'm a big fan of Kash Patel. I'm a big fan, of the Attorney General. I mean, Ratcliffe. Everything that he's put out there, Pam Bondi. I think that we've got a what do you call it? A super team, or
Yep.
I think we've got a mega star team coming into DC, and I think I see Pam Bondi laying the hammer to the wood in some of these DAs, and I see a mass colonoscopy coming to the Justice Department and the system too. Does it stop?
Yeah. So the good news is that I am very, very confident that our government will be de-weaponized within the next 2 years.
Right.
So that's one half of the question. The other half of the question is, does the lawfare stop? No. But it's probably going to be paused for 4 years because this Justice Department is also going to keep all those people really freaking busy defending themselves. We got a lot of issues out there. So I think that yes, overall it's going to at least pause before it picks back up. The Democrats are not going to stop. Believe it or not, they're fighting for their lives, and that's how they feel. Remember, it doesn't matter what reality is. It matters what their perception of reality is. And their perception of reality is that Trump's coming for me. And so they're going to keep going because that's how their perception is. They feel like they're fighting for their lives. So it's not going to stop, but it's definitely going to take a huge pause for the next 4 years.
Yeah. What do you, I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to get to the J6 stuff. What, I know these California races, I know we're very fortunate to keep the House. We've got a razor-thin majority, like one vote, I think, and we've got no room for any, rebellion in the ranks. But do you see a more favorable map for us in 26 for the House? I feel like the Senate's safe, at least for Trump's 4 years. Do you think that Johnson hangs on to the House in 26 and we get are the maps more favorable for Republicans 2 years from now?
Ooh, very tough question there. Very tough question. It's not as straightforward as you might think because we're still in the middle of our revolution inside the Republican Party.
Right.
And so there's going to be turnover on the Republican side, and that could cause some accidental Democrat wins, which is worth it to get rid of the crappy Republicans. But look at the gains we've made. I want everybody to understand New Jersey is now a battleground state. Like, you have to bake that into your brain. New Jersey is now a battleground state. You got to look at California. Every single county in the state of California moved red. Every single one by significant margins, 5 to 6 points per county. Okay. You're looking at massive shifts in how America perceives itself, even in those districts. So when you ask a question like that, I'm saying absolutely yes, this next cycle in 2 years favors us in the House races, but we also have to try to clean house at the same time. So what generally that's going to tell me is that we may gain 2 seats, 4 seats, but it's going to be just as close because of the turmoil that we're going to be doing. Don't forget the Democrats are going to have, they're reeling right now. They really are. So they have to look for a platform on top of everything else. So as a party politics standpoint, the Democrats are going to have almost no national message that they can get behind, and so there's not gonna be as coordinated an effort to actually win for Democrats nationwide. It's going to be much smaller ball for Democrats the next cycle, whereas Republicans, we've established very big tent policy, very big tent politics. So we should actually have a pretty unified front with those small, ass whoopings that I mentioned previously.
Well, there was certainly a ass whipping of magnitude of proportions back in November, and it continues. I've just got a feeling that the momentum, as you said, unless we step on certain body parts, we're going to be okay. in our movement here with the MAGA side and the conservatives. Buddy, let me just say this. Folks, we're grateful you're with us tonight. It's midnight in the East. We're grateful you're with us on this late night McFiles special. I got my dear buddy James R. James Akers is going to be coming up maybe if he's still up here after James leaves us here in a little while. But we'll be taking your questions and your comments, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be here for a while. I just love these late night chit chats with you, man. It's good. But I do want to ask you, I want you to break down the J6 report by Horowitz. That was a really another earthquake shocker that came out over the weekend, Friday, and it seems that 26 FBI informants, not that we didn't know that there were FBI informants among the J6 crowd, James, but does there, other than the pardon that it's likely that Trump's going to give these J6ers, is there going to be any remedy to them for their lives that have been destroyed over the last 4 years? Is there going to be any remedy for any of this? Peter Navarro, I'm thinking of Steve Bannon, and look, Paul Manafort got caught up in the stuff. Maybe not so much on J6, but James, they have destroyed these Democrats. This Democratic lawfare has destroyed so many lives, and there's been monetary loss. I'm thinking of Rudy Giuliani tonight. There has just been an absolute avalanche of this, and I'm not calling for revenge, but is it a fair statement that if we don't address it and deal with it and have retribution in the sense of some kind of reparation, I hate to use that term, but that's the only one I really know how to use, these people need to be paid for their loss, correct? Or is that just a pipe dream and it's just one of those things that's going to go down in history as they got screwed over and they're not going to get anything out of this?
It's a very difficult question, much more difficult than it seems on its face.
I know.
First, you have to understand that our system is not set up that way.
I know.
However, it has finally caused some people to talk about something I've talked about with you before. I've talked about with Crypto Lawyer on Spaces before, because it's basically his brainchild. And this was a year or more ago, and it's called fee shifting as applies to the criminal statutes of our country. We're all used to fee shifting on the civilian side of the law, where in civil court you have to pay the opponent's attorney's fees if you lose. Now, we need that kind of statute over here on the criminal side, and that will help us curtail this criminal lawfare that's happening across the country by forcing the agencies to pay for losses out of their own budgets. That will have a lot of bang-on effects, not the least of which is prosecutors not really coloring outside the lines, because they'll lose their budget every time they lose a case like a Daniel Penny case or a Trump case. So that will help seriously curtail it from happening again. The other side of this, though, that you asked really, and the most important question is there a way for the J6ers that have already been harmed to be made whole? The answer is both yes and no. So here's the first answer. The Justice Department of Donald Trump really isn't interested in fighting against a wrongful prosecution lawsuit against the government. So they potentially have avenues that they could become made whole, because the DOJ would literally encourage J6ers to file wrongful prosecution lawsuits and then settle them. So, yes, there is a path, but the groundwork has to be laid by Trump. And so we have to decide if that's likely to happen. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I got to be honest about that. I'm just not sure. But the groundwork could be laid for that. It's just a question of what's the appetite of Americans. And I'll tell you this, it may be likely to happen, because here's what's not likely to happen. You're not going to see hundreds of people prosecuted for this shit. You're not going to see all the Biden administration go down in flames. You got all these people that are running around the internet, Gitmo for everybody. It's not going to happen, because that's not how you save this country. The thing that the left forgot is the shoe on the other foot test. What does MAGA think about what we're doing? They don't care. They didn't care. When they stopped caring, they lost every election across this country, and it's why we have all three branches of the government. So when you think about it like that, and you understand that we have to now be the adults, and our job is to make that pendulum swing stop dead in the middle, not swing all the way to our side and do to them what they did to us. That path is disaster for the country. It's just going to exacerbate where we're at today, which is damn near on the brink of civil war. We have to realize that and understand that the most we're going to see is a handful of prosecutions for the most egregious people at the top, at the most.
Okay.
And that everybody else is just going to get exposed and fired and never allowed back in that job. And that's going to have to be good enough.
Would Christopher Wray be on that list?
Potentially. But someone like Ray most likely has a get out of jail free card.
I was thinking the same thing. I just don't. I think, James, you bring a good point, and look, I in principle agree with you. I feel sick to my stomach thinking of what these people have gone through. And look, me and you both, when all this stuff, we were still doing shows together back in 21, 2020, 2019, 2022, 2023. And when all this J6, this crap, that it was an insurrection, and we've been screaming for 4 years. You've been screaming for 4 years. No, it wasn't an insurrection. It was just a simple protest that, a few knuckleheads got a little anxious and shouldn't have done what they did. But, it was not an insurrection on the Capitol, but it was a protest, and it was a statement that we believe the 2020 election was stolen, which I think that, too, is going to, the scab is going to be yanked off of that. Now that Trump's in office, and there's no way to protect the truth. I think the Epstein list is coming out. I think that there's other lists that are coming out. There's going to be a revelation of stuff that we could have never dreamed of having under another time of history other than the one we've got now. But I tend to believe what you're saying is true, and even though I don't want it to be true, because I do want, and it's not revenge, I want there to be some kind of payment to these people that have hurt, and I've got a gut feeling that you're right, that they're probably not going to see it. And it's sad to me, because this part of our history, what you said a while ago is also true. It cannot happen again, buddy. This cannot happen ever again. And if we don't stop it now, it will. Because these people will ultimately be back in power at some point in our lifetime. They will. I mean, it's just the way the country is, and people are stupid, and we'll get tired of being great. We'll be tired of good economies. We'll be tired of having a leader, and we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll put somebody like Barack Obama in. And because the generation that follows us, if the authoritarians, is maybe not going to be as bright as this group was in 24 that said, we're tired of this socialism crap and we're going to get rid of it. So it's got to stop. We can never have this again, because this has been, we were on a dangerous precipice, buddy. We were about to lose this whole legal system of our nation, man. That's what undergirds us as a society, does it not?
Right. No, you're 100% right. Look, when you were speaking there, believe it or not, this is James R. I know most of your show audience thinks that I'm going to burn in hell for eternity, but I was reminded on a couple of biblical words there. Revelations being the most. Remember, the book of Revelations is a whole lot of fire and brimstone and not too much salvation, okay? Just remember that. So these revelations are going to create firestorms in our society. That's what's going to happen. When that comes out, this is the tearing of clothes and the gnashing of teeth moment that people are going to experience, because it's far worse than anybody actually believes. Okay? Even people that say, I know it. When you're actually confronted with 1/3 of your government being very evil people, that's going to be very hard to deal with. Okay, so be prepared for those revelations. The other one you said was retribution, and I threw in there, it's righteousness is what you're speaking of. We are righteous in our anger. We are righteous in our desire to see these people made whole again. We are righteous in seeking the justice from the people who did such injustice. But let's remember, we're Christians, and it's not our place to judge these people. Okay? Take comfort that these people will pay for what they've done. But as a society, we must save the country. That is in our command to do.
I'll agree.
That is in our place to do. And that must be the overriding factor. I even said this before, and I said it's why they never should have gone after Trump, because you're opening Pandora's box. Because if you're going to aggressively go after our politicians, then we're going to aggressively go after your politicians, and eventually nobody wants to be a politician but a completely empty suit, because that never did anything in their lives, and you'll never get anywhere. This will kill our country. It will forever divide our country and probably lead to complete anarchy. We probably would cease to exist if we allowed the tit for tat to continue. Because again, here's a Sun Tzu thing. Here's a Sun Tzu thing to understand. Always leave your enemy a lane to retreat from. Why? Because if you put their back against the wall, they're fighting you to the death. And there's no bets as to what's going to happen. We now have the left by the throat. We control every aspect of this government. We definitely control the will of the politicians. We proved that with Pete Hegseth. We are large and in charge and righteous in our anger. But we have to allow for the country to be saved at the end of this. And that's not going to happen because if we let this go further than what I said, because the left, their perception, the enemy's perception, is they're fighting for their lives.
I'll agree, James.
That's it.
It's well said. It's an excellent analogy. But I do got to ask you one question, and this is just a Chris question. Do you believe, in your heart of hearts, that if we do that, okay, and we give the left leeway, and we give the left their space and their exit, do you think they will return that favor should we get another Trump-like candidate in the future? Do you believe they will do it again?
Oh, they'll definitely do it again. Look, the fight that we as Christians have fought our entire lives is not ours alone. This goes all the way back to the literal sons of Noah.
Yes.
So let's not forget that this battle's been going on forever, because it's really what it is. It's good versus evil.
Absolutely, buddy.
Don't see that, but we know better. We've been down this road before. We've been through this thing. We've got the history to prove it. Is the left going to act the same way in the future? They're absolutely, because they're godless. They are full of hubris and ego, and they think they are the smartest people that have ever walked the earth, let alone the smartest people in this country. That is their self-image. The reason that they say what they say online is because they feel like they are righteous in going after Donald Trump, even though we know that's complete and utter horseshit. But they feel that way because of their egos.
It's very true, James.
They are convinced they're the good people. They are convinced that the communists are the good people. They are convinced that socialism is the future of humanity. It's their religion. They will always act like this. It is up to us to further educate the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. It's the same old Ronald Reagan sayings: freedom, isn't free. It must be fought daily. And you can even go back further than Reagan and remember this. This is a forefathers quote. Pretty sure Patrick Henry mostly gets the credit for it. But I've heard Ben Franklin, and to be honest with you, I can't remember. The point is that the tree of liberty must be watered with the blood of patriots.
Absolutely, man.
This is why. They will never stop.
I know. Well, and again, we are on the same page, and I get everything you're saying. I just it does it, but from a personal standpoint, and I'll move on. We'll wrap this up after this. Are you in the same feel of that I'm feeling though? Let me rephrase that. Are you feeling the same sickness I feel inside over what's happened though to the J6ers?
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I think that most of America does, which is why their GoFundMes have done so well. The problem is that the way the court system is set up, most of their GoFundMes have been snagged by the courts as penalties. So, getting that back is going to be damn near impossible.
Wow.
But path forward is going to be America's going to make sure that these people are taken care of one way or the other. And even if America doesn't, God always looks out for us, brother.
I know, buddy. I'm with you. Look, and there's a spiritual element to this that I've got all the faith in the world in the Lord. I do. And I know that the vengeance is His. And that's why what I'm saying is not about vengeance, because that's not in our hands. And I do believe you reap what you sow, though. And I think that the Democrats have reaped the whirlwind, James, and they've sowed it. They've sowed a whirlwind of evil, and eventually they're going to reap it. And I think that a lot of these people, whether they reap it now, I guess is ultimately in God's hands. They will reap it in eternity if they don't repent. But I will tell you, brother, it's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth these last 8 years, what we've been through. And, it's going to take some divine assistance to heal this country. And thank God we got Donald Trump coming into office in January, not Kamala Harris, because I don't think we would have survived 6 months with her. I just don't. There's no telling where we would be. But it's always a pleasure. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a date, the 30th of December, which is the Monday night before New Year's. We'll do a Zoom call, okay? And I'll get you a time, and we'll get you back on in a couple of weeks. And by then, we'll have, at this rate, with the drones and the shootings and the J6 stuff and all these reports coming out, we could have the evidence the Lindbergh baby is alive, or we could have who shot JFK. We could have so many answers by then that you'll have, we always bring you on when the world's about to end. So, by this time on December the 30th, who knows what's going to be going on in the world, right?
No, 100%. Let me say one more thing before we get out of here, because I have to remind my wife, Tina, this all the time. Because if I don't remind Tina that she's not the instrument of justice, we're not the instrument of karma. So when that shit bites these people in the ass, that don't mean we have to go be the one with the knife. Okay? Just everybody take a chill.
Yeah.
Get taken care of.
Absolutely. Tell Tina I said hello, and I'm going to see you guys soon. We're coming out west to see you guys. James, I love you like a brother, man, and I appreciate you. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I will be in touch with you very soon. And, it has been a wonderful, wonderful 7 years of doing shows with you, and I'm looking forward to 2025 and just doing some, even more together. I've had so much stuff going on in the last 3 or 4 years, but I'm looking forward to a new reconnection with you, and I appreciate your insight. And I sit here and listen to you, and I just you're one of the most astute political minds I know of, and you're a good friend, and I appreciate you, and I really mean that. And at Christmas time is the time that we tip our hat to our family and our loved ones, and you're part of that, brother. And I hope you have a Merry Christmas from Tina and the baby. And God bless you, friend. We love you much as a friend.
Yeah, God bless you. Much love. Merry Christmas to you and the entire McFiles audience. I hope you guys have the best year of your life coming up, because I'm sure going to have fun watching it.
We're gonna get some popcorn and watch it together, bro. That's all I got to say, man. Looking forward to it. I'll see you in a couple weeks, okay? And
it's good, bro. I'll see you then.
Much love, man. Bless James. James, all right, everybody. Put some fire in that house for him. on this Monday night. I got one little thing to do. Just give me 1 second here. Let me see if Mr. Akers is up. If he's not, it's okay. We'll get him tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you guys for a little while. But did you enjoy James R. tonight? That was pretty good stuff there. Pretty good stuff. Good to see everybody in the house. And we've had a wonderful 2 back-to-back great shows tonight. Ricky was on fire, and so was James R. tonight, and he really did some interesting analysis like he always does, and it's good stuff. And I appreciate my brother. I cannot say enough about him. I will. There's my buddy, Pirate Radio Adventures. I will always have a story to tell my grandyoungins when I'm in the wheelchair and eating my spaghetti through a straw. It'd be my joy and honor, just James R. and Tina be in the same nursing home with me. We'll be sharing how we first met. And somebody sent me the Renegade song the other night, and they said, well, we thought of you and James R. when I heard this. And Renegade, I got to find that and play that. That's going to be my intro on the McFiles in 25. But I'm going to go back on Pirate Radio for a few visits this coming year. I've been needing to get reconnected with my gang over there, and I appreciate James R. I do, and I see him out there in the house, and I hope he knows that how much he's appreciated by this audience. And there's just something about when he comes on here, there's just such a flow, and he's just good for him. And me and him we were on the same network, and I find it somewhat. I shouldn't say what I'm about to say, but I've just got to say it. And I think James would agree. Me and him have watched a lot of these yahoos come and go that they thought they were all that. And I guess the part of me that has a little bit of contentment and a little bit of, it's not arrogance at all. It's not even ego. But I do smile when I think about it, that James and I have weathered the storm for 7 years, and James is still here and I'm still here, and a lot of these other yahoos have gone into the night, and because James R. has been committed to the truth, and we have too, and we've been committed to keeping people grounded and keeping people in the know, and not just to go out there and put a bunch of SHIT on the walls to get you to stay and listen to us. And we've never done that. I've never done that. I've lost listeners because we've not done that. We've lost guests because we ain't done that. And that's okay. Adios amigo. Because I don't really care who we lose. We're not going to do that on this network. We don't traffic in that. And we never will traffic in that. That's what I've always respected about James R. He's a straight shooter. And when he's telling you something, you can take it to the bank. You can take it to the bank. And, and his opinions are his opinions, and he'll let you know if there's his opinions, and he'll tell you what he knows, and that's what I've always respected about him. And that's why we get along. And we will always get along. He'll be my friend till I die, and I hope he knows that. And I appreciate him. I really do. It is good to see everybody. Now, James R. We got Wayne Wally, my dear buddy from Georgia. He says Captain Chris for president and James R. for vice in 2028. If JD Vance don't run, I don't mind being number 2. I'm called number 2 every day. So if you want to take the top, and I'll take the number 2 position, because people call me number 2 all the time. You're just a pile of number 2, McDonald. But I think a James R. Mac ticket would be awesome. Because I've told everybody that if I was elected president tonight, I wouldn't put James as my vice. James would be my press secretary. And I would give him permission for 72 hours to let the press know exactly how we feel about them in a James R. Pirate Radio way. Woo! Because I would sit as president to the side like this, and I would be laughing my ass off, and then we would I'd still be laughing after they impeached me for that press conference. We'd still have a good time for the 30 days that we'd be in office, and the country would never be the same again. The country would never be the same again. Oh my Lord. Anyway, so Dwayne, we'll think about your offer there, my friend. Good to see you tonight. Anyway, listen, guys, if you got a question, if you've got any comments, it's your time now. Let's see, James Akers ain't up, so we're gonna let him come on tomorrow night. It's a little late. It's after midnight, but I'm still wired up, so I'm not ready to go anywhere just yet. And if you got a question or a comment, and I want to thank James, a great interview tonight. Man, he really is. We covered a lot of stuff tonight. It was really deep stuff, and I appreciate him, and it was good. I hope you got something out of this tonight, and I hope you got something out of Ricky. Ricky Wilson had some tremendous thoughts too. But if you got a question, anything you want to ask, go ahead and put it in the house. We're grateful. We're grateful. I don't know. I just want one day. I just want one. I wouldn't even care about being president for a month. Just give me one. Actually, give me a week. Yeah, give me a week. At least give me a week. Because that's all I need. Trust me. And James Albert only need a week. We cleaned this crap up. That's for sure. But anyway, if you got... that'd be such fun. If you got a question, President Chris McDonald would have to learn to tell the media in 28, you are the news. Yep. John Quallen, we're going to get a picture of President Trump and Jesus that is behind you. John, I can't remember where I got that from. That is a nice picture right there. That is a nice one, isn't it? I got it, I think, on Wayfair or Etsy, ETSY. And if you'll just put in President Trump and Jesus, those will come up. We're going to try to get a bulk supply of these for next year and take with us on the road to our conferences, John. But I like that picture. It's a beautiful picture. I got another one that's even better up there. I'll have to bring this one over. You can't see it in the screen there, but it's a beautiful picture, and it means a lot to me, and I got two of them there. But, yes, that's Etsy. ETSY, I believe is where I got that from. That's where I got that from. Anyway, Wayne Wiley says, is there any way to still bring Hunter and James Biden on charges after all the pardons? Wayne, that's a legal question. I think a lot of that will determine, the Congress will have to deal with that. Wayne, I think that what James R. said is wisdom tonight. I would not hold my breath that the Bidens will see any kind of justice. I think that, I know we want that. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. They're going to get away with a lot on this side of the grave. Now, I'm going to tell you something, Wayne. Whatever they get away with on this side of the grave, they will not get away with it in eternity. And I think that's one of those things we're just going to have to put in the hands of God and let God deal with it. But as far as legally, look, he's only pardoned Hunter. He didn't pardon James. So I think, it depends on the legal system. I think Pam Bondi is going to look at all aspects of this when she takes office. There's nothing going to happen right now. I would tend to say no. To answer your question. Carol Smith says, I would like to see Elon Musk buy up the border wall and sell it back to the government it costs. That's a good one. I didn't even talk about James. I should have talked. I'll task him about that in 2 weeks about the government selling off the border wall. Good Lord have mercy. How crazy have we gotten in this country? I mean, we talked about that a little bit Thursday night. Literally eBaying $5 auction parts for pieces of the wall, and only in America. Only in America can you do that. Peggy Cornish says, I do believe there'll be restitution for J6. Peggy, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, who knows? I can't say for sure. Again, I'm chewing on what James R. said tonight, and I agreed. I agreed in principle what he was saying. I think that me and him both, though, acknowledge that we both feel sick about it. I do, and I feel. And look, it's hard to fathom the fact, and it makes us all grit our teeth. It makes me grit my teeth to think that these bastards, if they had the chance, and let's just say had Kamala Harris got elected, Donald Trump would probably not see the new year at his home in Mar-a-Lago. He would probably already be in jail and probably never see the light of day again. They would do it. You just can't run a country like that. You just cannot have a justice system that is doing that. That's Gestapo, communism, socialism stuff. And we rejected that in November. But we cannot have an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth mentality either. I think it was Gandhi that said one time, if you do an eye for an eye, you both go blind. And it's the truth. And we can't do tit for tat, because eventually it will destroy the country. It will destroy the country. Somebody's got to be an adult. Somebody's got to suck their pride up. But the way I feel tonight, I will just say this, Peggy, to your point. The way I feel tonight, I may not feel this way once Trump takes office, because I think he needs to move on. Trump's got to lead the country forward. We can't keep going back. We've got to go forward with Trump. We do. He's got to lead the country forward and get us out of this mess. But if I had my way about it, like if Chris had the power to do it, every last one of these SOBs, they wouldn't be in Gitmo. I'll just leave it at that. Every one of these SOBs, because what they've done is, and the harm that they've caused this country is treasonous. And I'll just let you figure out what we do to traitors and treasonous people in this country. And I'll just leave it at that. But that's just Chris. That's just Chris talking. Peter, you said the Breitbart reporting the Madison chief of police refused to answer if the shooter was trans. Peter, as of tonight, we're being told that she was not. She was a girl, a female, 17-year-old. And look, whether he refuses to answer it or not, Peter, don't matter. It don't matter what the Madison chief of police says. It's a tragedy. And I'll just say this, Peter, and this is just, again, Chris talking. Look, ultimately, we get caught up on the shooter, and we should not be caught up on the shooter. We should be caught up on the victim. You've got a young man that went to school this morning that's not coming home to his parents tonight. You've got a teacher that went to school, and I think she was a female. She's not going home to her family tonight. And when they kissed their families goodbye this morning, there was probably not a thought that that was going to be the last time they saw them. That's where my heart's at tonight. I don't care if the shooter was a kangaroo. I'm serious. Whoever it was, boy, girl, animal, or whatever, they were demonically evil in doing what they did. This girl had a vendetta against men. She had a vendetta against humanity. She had a vendetta, evidently, against Christians. Her manifesto, I've got the manifesto. I don't have time to read it tonight. We're going to deal with it a little bit more tomorrow on tomorrow night's program. Carla Nicole's coming on at 8. And then we've got Eric Karen at 10. And we'll be back here again with a question and answer. And I'll deal with it a little bit more tomorrow night because I'll have more details. But Peter, ultimately, I don't care whether she was trans or not. I don't care. I don't. And if the Madison police don't want to answer that question, that don't bother me. I'm devastated for these victims, and I'm afraid that there's many of these 12 that have injured that are critically injured, and we may have a death toll that rises. And we just live in an evil world. We just live in an evil world. Wayne Wiley, when will you be in South Georgia again? Wayne, I'll have to answer that privately. I don't get my travel schedule out like that. Just email me, buddy. Just email me. Let's see here. Chris Davis says, regardless of who is president, we are living in the end of the end, and Christ is coming very soon. Chris, you're correct. You are correct. We are in the end times, and it is evil. And these times are evil. Any other questions, folks? We've got, it's 12:35. I'll go about another 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes. If you got a question or a statement, put it in the house. There was somebody up here earlier in the night that wrote something, and I wanted to read it. Let's see here. Laughing Dog says they wanted they wanted us defeated and deleted for not wearing masks and taking the vax. They are a death cult. That is very true. That is very, very true. Interesting stuff. Carol Smith says it's sad that guns are the issue and not the loss of these families. Carol, that is so true, and that's the other thing that just grates at me deep in my soul tonight. That again, Joe Biden is out there. This is how nutty our president is, or the current sitting regime leader. I'll say he's calling tonight again. She used a handgun. He's calling for a ban on automatic weapons due to this shooting, when the weapon that was used, Carol, in this shooting was a handgun. Go figure. It wasn't an automatic weapon that killed these kids. It's 2 people that are dead and the 12 that are injured, perhaps. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's always that. They've always done that, and they'll always do it. It's just second nature. And I honestly think they've got a drawer full of talking points. I'm serious. That they've got in a folder. And they just salivate and wait for something like this to happen. And they just pull it out. And they're reading it. It's already prepared. I think it's on schedule. It's always how it's been. It's ironic that 12 years ago, on December the 14th, it's interesting, it's just 2 days, today's the 16th, now 17th, but 12/16/12 was Sandy Hook. 12/14/12 was Sandy Hook. 12/16/24 was Madison, Wisconsin. Something about December. Very scary stuff. But Carol, your point is well taken. Susan Prusky says, we have a court date with the Lord. Whomever skates out of court in earthly life will stand accountable in the high court. Susan, good to see you tonight. That is absolutely correct. And that is why we need to leave vengeance to God. We need to leave vengeance to God. But I think that if it's in our power to correct this justice path, we need to do it. And again, if I had my personal wishes tonight, I am having a hard time wanting to show mercy. I'm having a hard time wanting to show mercy to any of these players that have been involved in this stuff, because it has cost people more than just money. There have been failures in their families. There have been hurt. There's been time. Look, I think of Steve Bannon. Peter Navarro was put in shackles like a freaking political prisoner, from what I understand. I think Brad said that to us, or Eric, Karen one. They treated Roger Stone. The raid on Mar-a-Lago was beyond evil. What they did to Trump. They would have never, ever stood for it. The media would have never stood for that had that been done to Obama, had that been done to even Joe Biden. There would have been an uproar like you would not have seen. And you just don't do stuff like that in a civilized society. You just don't. Now, you do in third world countries and communist countries and Gestapo-run countries and socialist countries, but you don't do that in republics where we the people are in control. But ultimately, I think James R., I go back to what he said tonight, I believe he's right. I do. And in principle, I am with him 100%. That somebody's got to be the adult. I don't want to be. But I think, Susan, your point is well taken. I think your point is well taken. Carol Burnett. Carol, are you related to the Carol Burnett? She says they do not want to mention the gender issue because they want to focus on getting the guns. That is what they are concentrating on, not the well-being of anyone, really. Carol, that's a good point. I think that you may be onto something there, but I just both issues are non-issues to me. The issue is the teacher and the student that got killed, and the people that are hanging on for their life tonight, and the trauma to that city. We had people in our chat tonight that one lady, Cher, I don't know if she's back out there tonight, she went to that church. That's part of a church, the Abundant Life Christian School, and the trauma of that. And then there's another lady that had a friend that went there. I can't remember who that was tonight. Those are the issues that I'm praying about and I'm concerned for. It's the victims. But your point is well taken, and yes, that's what they do. They always try to ignore one issue to highlight another, and you're right. And what your statement is right. I don't think either issue, though, is the issue, though. And thank you. It's good to see you tonight. And I got to ask, are you the real Carol Burnett? I'm so glad we had this time together. I love the Carol Burnett show. I still laugh at some of those skits they've got on the internet from her and Harvey Korman and Tim Conway and Vicki Lawrence. It's a great show. Great show of the 70s. Anyway, it is pure demonic. Yeah, absolutely, Carol. Now that I'll agree. I mean, look, we're in agreement with that. All of this is demonic. All of it, folks. Everything that is going on right now on this earth, there is such evil that is being released and trying to be unleashed on this earth. It is all demonic. And Carol, you're right, 1,000,000% on that. We are in total agreement on that, my friend. We are in total agreement. And this young lady that did this killing was full of demon spirits. I mean, look, this was inspired by demon spirits. Her manifesto was dark. It was very dark. And we haven't had a chance to look over it fully, but we will deal with it more tomorrow night. But from what I read, it was dark. It was some dark stuff. Anyway, all right. Let me see if I got any Facebook comments. Dennis Floyd says, "Why in the world don't they have armed guards at every school?" Dennis, the reason they don't have armed guards at every school, the left don't want them, but then the left wants to scream that we need to get the guns out. They hate the guns, but yet some schools do have guards that are armed. Here in Knox County, I taught a few years here, and there was a few of the high schools that had armed guards. It just depends on the school system. But your question is valid, and I can't answer that fully other than the left hates that. They don't want that. It'd be too simple. Too much like right, Dennis. Be too much like right. But, Dennis, I have to say this. I'm not 100% sure that even having armed guards will stop these shootings. It will slow it down, and I think what would happen, people would think twice about doing something like this. A kid would think twice about doing it. But if you're hell-bent on committing carnage and hell-bent on committing murder, it's unclear tonight. I'm sure we'll find more out as the day goes on tomorrow and the next day. I think she killed herself because she was already dead when the police, according to the police report, the police did not have to use their weapon against her. So that sort of tells me that wound was self-inflicted. But if these kids are going to school with the idea that, look, I'm going to take 20 people out or 15 people out and kill myself, what can you do? I mean, the armed guard can stop them, but they're going to do what they're going to do. The carnage will still be the same. So it's good points. Good question. Good question. I agree with your question. It would be too much like right. Anyway. Alrighty, guys. Listen, we hope you've had a good night with us. I hope you've enjoyed the 2 shows we've given you, I should say, with Ricky and James R. And we're going to have James Akers on tomorrow night. We got Eric Karen coming tomorrow night, and we've got Carla Nicole coming tomorrow night. We got a week full of shows. We got a brand new guest Wednesday night for our Faith Chat. He runs the Bible Museum here in Sevierville, and looking forward to him. And then we've got Brad Johnson and Mike Simonelli coming Thursday night. Friday night, I don't know what we're going to do. We may do a wrap-up show and play a bunch of videos. I got about 50 of them. I hadn't had a chance to download. But it's been a good start to the week. And we're going to give you as many shows as we can this week before the Christmas break. And I do hope that you're enjoying the Christmas season. We don't say Happy Holidays around here. We say Merry Christmas. And we want you to have a great Merry Christmas as we go out of here tonight on this now Tuesday morning. And if you enjoyed the show tonight, put some fire in that house. Thank you for all the donations that we've received this month. And if you feel free to donate, feel free to donate to us. And you can go to our website to find out how to do that and so forth. I'm just grateful for you all tonight. And you know, it is Christmas. And I just feel like going out with a song that is Christmas. And I hope you'll enjoy it as we go out of here tonight. And listen, you take care of yourself out there. Be blessed. And this is from our CD, Merry McChristmas. Have a good one, everybody. See you in the morning. On the faith side, see you tomorrow night back here on the new side.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, while geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses and blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into spring. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. Then I don't feel so bad. Girls in white dresses and blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into spring. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. Then I don't feel so bad. It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happy happiest season of all. With those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings with friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the